and welcome to CasaLoud Chats, a podcast dedicated to Nickelodeon's The Casagrandes and the Loud House universe. And I'm your host, Sunny. And welcome to episode 50 of CasaLoud Chats. Woo! This is my 50th episode of my show, the CasaLoud Chats podcast. I can't believe it. I finally made it to 50 episodes of my show. And I want to say thank you all so much for supporting my podcast through the years as I've made 50 episodes of this show. And it's been kind of crazy that I've started this podcast way back in 2019, and now I'm still here doing the show as the Loud House and the Casagrandes are still airing new episodes of both shows and making new content and continuing to do my podcast and having people come onto the show as guests and just continuing to do the show overall. So again, thank you guys so much for the support, and I'm so happy that I finally made it to 50 episodes of my show. And also I want to say, as I'm recording this show, it's been past the 50th anniversary of the Loud House. I want to say happy anniversary to the Loud House. Happy 5th anniversary to the Loud House. This show has changed my life for the better, and knowing that the show has been around for 5 years now and is still going very strong with season 5, and also having the Casagrandes with their spin-off show, it's just crazy that for 5 years I've been in this fandom and I haven't left since. Like, I've been in this fandom ever since the beginning, like close to the beginning, because obviously I joined around season 1, but I wasn't at the beginning, but I've still been here for a while. So knowing that's been 5 years since the show aired is crazy, and we're just still into a new season, and then we're gonna have another new season with season 6, so that's pretty crazy. So again, happy 5th anniversary to the Loud House, and of course happy 50th episode to the CasaLoud Chats. And I wanted to do something special for the 50th anniversary, but I was kind of busy with school because, of course, in a few days I'll be graduating from college, from university, and getting my bachelor's degree in fine arts, which I'm really, really excited about. So there's been a lot of prepping when it comes to getting ready to graduate for college and moving on to the next phase of my life. So I had to take a long break from my podcast since the last episode I've recorded, which was like back in March, which was good because the show was on hiatus for like the whole month of April. So I had no problem, staying away from from the shows. And even if the new episodes came out, I would have made time to do an episode or two. But the fact that April was just a nice hiatus spot for both shows made it so much easier for me to get through college and get my work done in that way. We're into May, and that means we are going to be having new episodes of both shows. Well, I mean, I say the Loud House is going to have new episodes, and Casagrandes are going to have new episodes, but not in the way we want it to happen. But yeah, it's very exciting that now we're going to be talking about new episodes of both shows. And of course, the big exciting news that is going to make this 50th episode of my show even more exciting is that we finally have more news about the Loud House movie, and not just more news about it, but we finally have a teaser trailer for the Loud House movie and see what we could see from the movie and what it looks like, and we'll talk about that later. We'll leave that at the end. So I won't hold up the introduction for long. So with that being said, let's get into some Casa news. So as I said on the top of the show, this week we are having brand new episodes of The Loud House this week because the Casagrandes does not have their 7:30 slot because of that new Barbarian and Troll show that's on Nickelodeon. So apparently for the month of May, we are just having Loud House and no new Casagrandes as of right now. Unless they decide to change, have a schedule change in the last minute for the US, because we'll talk about the Casagrandes soon, because we are getting new episodes but not in the US. But for the Loud House, we are getting brand new episodes every Friday at 7 o'clock as usual. But for the Casagrandes, that Barbarian show took the spot. Hopefully we can get that spot back for the Casa G's. Or they just do what they did in February and give us an 8 episode marathon like they did that one week, which was kind of crazy, but it's at least you get the episodes in the US, but we'll talk about that later. So we're talking about the Loud House first with their brand new episodes, and this week we are getting brand new episodes this Friday, which are Hurl Interrupted and Diamonds Are For Never, which both of those aired in the UK early in March. I talked about them before. I've not reviewed them. I've not reviewed them, but I've talked about them before. It's the Lynn episode where she goes to Dairyland with her friends, and the Lola and Mr. Grouse episodes. So we'll talk about those soon. The thing is about the new episodes, I don't know how I'm going to go about them, because again, there's new episodes this week, and then next week and the week after. So I might just wait a bit, because I also have plans to do the season retrospectives on my show about, the huge celebration for the 5th anniversary of the Loud House was to review each season, including season 1 of the Casagrandes. So I might just put all those new episodes into one episode eventually. But again, I haven't decided that yet, because I've been so busy with school. I haven't thought about my plans when it came to the retrospectives for the Loud House seasons. But so with this episode, we'll be talking about the new episodes, but I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. But yeah, so they're airing this Friday, so you haven't seen them yet. They aired early in the UK in March, a while back, so you haven't seen them yet and you avoid spoilers. They're airing this week, so you can see them. But next week we are getting brand new episodes of The Loud House that we haven't seen yet, so we can talk about them here, which are Rumor Has It and Training Day. So rumor has it, Lincoln and the gang are trapped in the woods with Mr. Ballhoffner, who may not be who he says he is. We're finally getting an episode about Mr. Ballhoffner where he's actually Lincoln's teacher for once in the show. Are they actually listening to me? Because, the fact that Mr. Ballhoffner is Lincoln's teacher in season 5, and we have not seen a single episode of Lincoln in his class since Schooled, is bizarre to me. School set up this whole idea of Lincoln trying to survive in class, that he's not in school with, he's not in class with his friends, but then we've gotten episodes about him with his friends anyway, so to me it felt like the ending of School just had no impact to the show, where it's oh, well, it's gonna be fine, because it doesn't matter if Lincoln's in Mr. Ballhoffner's class, he's still gonna be with his friends, and he still is. Why is Lincoln trapped with his friends with Mr. Ballhoffner? Because his friends are not in the same class with him. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I guess maybe they're all going on a 5th grade school, a 5th grade field trip, and the other class comes with them, so Lincoln gets that opportunity to hang out with his friends, because that's lucky for him. But it's just weird that he'll be stuck with his friends and Mr. Ballhoffner, who again is not his friend's teacher, because again, in Flying Solo, Mr. Ballhoffner was doing the after school activities with Stella. I think it was Stella, Rusty, and Liam or Zach, or I don't remember who it was. Those three were helping with the Glee Club. I'm sorry. Oh my God. I repressed that whole episode as a bad memory because of the Clyde plot, that I'm trying to remember stuff, but that's just me. But yeah, so Mr. Ballhoffner has been with Lincoln's friends, but not Lincoln himself. So I am kind of curious about this episode, how it's gonna be, where it's oh, but Mr. Ballhoffner's not who he thinks, is not who he seems. Because a lot of people have complained about the whole switch between Mr. Ballhoffner being a good teacher in Middlemen, where he had his own classroom and he was he seemed like a really great teacher, to Schooled, where he was in a trailer, and then now he's all sweaty and gross. So maybe that might actually give some answers into how Mr. Ballhoffner became the way he is. I mean, if I was a teacher and I got assigned to a trailer instead of an actual air-conditioned, clean classroom, I would probably be very angry myself. But I mean, it's gonna be kind of interesting, because again, just to see if they actually give some interesting character development to Mr. Ballhoffner. But I don't think anybody really cares about that episode. I think the most important episode we all are going to be talking about is Training Day. So Training Day, Lana gets more than she bargained for when she takes on Stella's untradeable new bunny. So, season 5 is really, they're all about these odd pairings. We had the Liam and Lynn episode, we had the Mr. Grouse and Lola episode, we've had the Flip and Lisa episode, and now we have the Lana and Stella episode, which is very strange. I mean, what's next? Are we gonna get a Lucy and Rusty episode? Oh, I'm so sorry. But anyway, this is gonna be very, very interesting because again, it's another interesting odd pairing with Stella and Lana. I never thought we'd get a pairing like this. It reminds me of that episode, Marcy and Maddie from Amphibia, mainly because Marcy and Stella have the same voice actor, which is kind of funny. So it seems like that. But I'm wondering if maybe Stella and Lana aren't really gonna bond in this episode. It's just gonna be like Stella has this new bunny, which, if it's a bunny and it's the same bunny that looks like the prototype Stella bunny in white hair, and you tie that together as like continuity, then I think a lot of the Stella Kid fans will like that, because again, like, that episode was kind of like hinting the Stella Kid ship in a way, but now that she has a new bunny, if it looks exactly like the Stella bunny in that episode, it has the bow and everything, then that's really good continuity. But I'm kind of worried it's just gonna be like a random bunny it's like a white bunny. Well, maybe it's a white bunny, then clearly she got it because of Lincoln. Or like, I was just like I don't know, like maybe a black and white bunny. That way we have the, okay, I'm trying to make Stella Kid connections here, okay? I'm a fan of Stella Kid, alright? I'm supporting y'all here. Anyway, but it is pretty interesting just to see this, because again, like, I'm wondering if maybe Stella is trying to train her buddy, and maybe she's telling her friends about it, and Lincoln's like, oh, well, my sister Lana's really good with animals, why don't you go and ask her about it? She's like, oh, Lincoln, thank you for helping me out, and stuff like that, and that's when she goes to Lana about it. So it is cool that Lana is getting her first focus episode of season 5, because again, we had the twins episode, Strive for the Party, but that was mostly a Lola episode, and Lana was kind of like the plot device, so it's nice to see that Lana's finally getting a focus episode of season 5, and with one of Lincoln's friends. Like, again, I'm very interested in how they're doing these odd pairings in season 5. Like, it's cool that they're trying new things for season 5, because again, we've never had these kind of pairings before. So Lincoln's friends, if they're just gonna like have episodes with all Lincoln's sisters for some reason, like, that's kind of interesting. Again, that Rusty and Lucy episode might be kind of awkward, if you know what I mean. Oh, poor Rocky. But I'm just wondering who else it could be, like maybe Zach and, I don't know, Zach and Lisa would be kind of interesting, because again, they're like, Zach with his like aliens and conspiracy theories, and Lisa with her smarts is like, oh, aliens aren't real or whatever. But that would be kind of interesting. Like, I'm wondering what the other pairings could be, and maybe Lincoln could pair up with if his friends had like siblings, like Rusty with him, and oh. Whoops, it's just so hard not to mention Rusty with Rocky. But yeah, but no, I'm pretty excited for that one. I think that's gonna be the one that we're mostly talking about, is the Lana and Stella one, just because I want to see if the buddy kind of looks like her from the white hair episode, or looks like Lincoln, so we make those connections, you know what I mean. Wink wink. And then that's gonna be next week. That's airing May 14th, same time, 7 o'clock. And then on May 21st, we get two more brand new episodes of The Loud House, which are Director's Rut and Friday Night Fights. So Director's Rut. Luann turns to Mr. Coconuts for help after she struggles to direct her school's play. Really, Luann? You have to turn to Mr. Coconuts for help? You don't have any other friends? Like, oh, I don't know, your boyfriend or your school play friends? You have to turn to your puppet for help? Come on, Luann, come on. I mean, at this point, Luann needs help. I'm worried about her. Like, the fact that she thinks that she has to turn to Mr. Coconuts, who, again, Mr. Coconuts is just her, okay? Mr. Coconuts is not real. He's not a real being. I don't care if the show tries to tell us, or tries to admit to us that Mr. Coconuts can be his own entity. No. Luann controls Mr. Coconuts, so technically she's going to herself for help and needs actual, like, help. I worry about Luann sometimes and her mental state, it's kind of hard to think about that in that way, but I'm like, Luann, you're talking to yourself, sweetie. I don't care if the show tries to say that Mr. Coconuts can be his own entity, his own being. He's not. He's basically someone Luann can talk to because she's so lonely, even though she has a boyfriend and friends. I'm sorry. I don't like to complain about that, but I just hate the fact that they're making Mr. Coconuts into his own person, even though he's not. He's a wooden puppet that Luann controls and is not real. Okay, Luann needs to go to someone else for help, like her sisters or her boyfriend or her friends. Okay, Luann, just please, I need to keep my sanity when it comes to this episode. But no, it's just gonna be like really awkward. And Luann's just talking to herself for 11 minutes, which yeah. But what can you do? That's just the way it is. But and then the next episode is Friday Night Fights. Lisa joins Lynn's football team as the analytics coach to prove that math will always beat out heart. So I'm very interested in this episode because, again, it is a different sister pairing. We are finally getting an episode with a different sister pairing, which we haven't had in a very long time. And it's Lisa and Lynn, which is a very, very strange pairing for sure. And this episode is definitely a reference to, if you ever seen the movie Moneyball, or if you watch The Simpsons, there's an episode called Money Barts. It's the same premise. Lisa joins Bart's baseball team as the coach of the team, and she kind of, she uses analyticals to like figure out ways that the team can win. It's basically this episode. I mean, it's basically the same character, Lisa and Lisa. I mean, they're practically the same character. Like, they're not the same character, but like they both have the same name. So it's basically that plot. Have you ever seen Moneyball, which is that episode, which is that whole thing with the baseball team and that, or again, Money Bart from The Simpsons. It's basically that episode with this episode. I mean, I'm very interested in this episode because, again, it is a different sister pairing, but I've seen this plot before, so it's like, oh, maybe they'll call back to things I've seen before where other shows have referenced the same exact plot. But it's nice that, again, they're doing a different sister pairing, a very odd sister pairing with Lisa and Lynn. I'm very interested in how their dynamic is going to be in this episode. So yeah, all these episodes sound very interesting, of course. I'm mostly excited about the Lana and Stella episode. Again, I think that's the only one that most of us are going to be talking about. But I am very intrigued to see what else is going to be happening with these episodes. But they all sound very exciting. So don't forget, all of these episodes are happening this month. Same time, Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. This week is the Lola and Mr. Grouse episode and the Lynn episode. Oh, that's interesting. Lynn gets 2 episodes back to back. Good for her. I just realized that because it says Lisa joins Lynn's football team. So yeah, Lynn gets 2 episodes back to back. Good for her. I mean, she just had the one with Liam, but it's also and so good for her. I'm good for her, Lynn. I mean, I hope maybe. I hate to say this as a spoiler, but I hope at least the Lisa and Lynn episode is a little bit better than the one with her in Dairyland. Cause yeah, spoiler alert, I did not really care about that episode that much. It's not one of the best Lynn episodes, but we'll talk about that when that happens. But yeah, good for her. But yeah, I'm mostly excited for the Lana and Stella episodes because it's Stella. She deserves an episode like that. But I'm hoping at least Stella and Lana do bond. It's not just Stella drops off her buddy and it's like, okay, the buddy's your problem now. Bye, Lana. Alright then, let's jump over to the Casagrandes now. So the Casagrandes are going to be having new episodes, but not in the US! Surprise! It's gonna be in the UK again. The UK getting those episodes before us. Lucky them. Yeah, so poor Casa G's. They don't have a airtime for the US because that Barbarian Troll show took the 7:30 slot. You could just move the Barbarian show to another time, because Loud House and Casagrandes deserve to be together, but nope, that Barbarian show had to take the slot, so thanks a lot. But, it's a new show, so I understand completely, so. But maybe, the Nick will finally figure out what to do with the Casa G's during that time. But as said before, yes, the Casa G's are getting their new episodes in the UK first, so that means we get 4 leaks! Yay! 4 leaked episodes! Woo! That I can't talk about to the air in the US! But yes, we'll talk about the descriptions here for the new episodes of Casagrandes, which are airing next week. So they're airing the 11th through the 14th. So 4 new episodes of the Casagrandes. So let's talk about them here. The first one is Matters of the Cart. After an old man wins Carl's dream go-kart, Carl wants to prove that he's worthy of the prize himself. So I'm going to be a little negative Carl here for a second because, again, after we talk about this episode, the next episode, Carl's getting back-to-back episodes, which, again, I talked about with Lynn getting back-to-back episodes. I'm like, good for her. Whereas Carl, I'm like, he just had 2 other episodes this season already, and he's in it so much. He just had Kid Plays the Pitcher, And then he had the one with, we recently just had an episode with him and Adelaide with karate chops. Like, why is he, and then, like, again, the one with Bobby. We just had him in that episode, too. Why are we getting back-to-back Carl episodes so much? Like, guys, Casagrandes, I know you love Carl. I do, too. But just calm down the Carl. Like, this is the kind of thing I was worried about with Sergio. But I'm glad at least Sergio doesn't get this abundance of episodes. But with Carl, he's like becoming the second main character. He has the most episodes now next to Roddy and the main character of the show. Bobby's supposed to be the second main character, and he's barely the episodes. Sid's supposed to be Roddy Ann's best friend. She doesn't even have an episode to herself yet. It's just kind of sad that, like, Adelaide's had more screen time than Sid in an episode. Well, I mean, that I shouldn't say that. But, like, Adelaide's had her own focus episode before Sid. Roddy Ann's best friend. Clyde's had his own episode before Sid, okay? Casagrandes. When are you gonna give us Sid's first main episode on her own? It could be a Sinardi episode, we're just waiting for it, but, you know, I really don't want to be anti-Carl, but Carl, just take a break, man, okay? Everybody else needs more episodes before you, man. We know you love the spotlight, but just calm it down. But, I mean, this sounds kind of interesting, because, again, it's a go-kart episode, but again, we had something like this in the Casagrandes already in Copycat. Roddy and Sid entered a go-kart race. Is this the same one in that episode just with Carl? It's so weird, like, after an old man wins Carl's dream go-kart, who's the old man? Is this a new character? Because they don't specify who this old man is. I was hoping maybe it was going to be, like, Vito or Vito. Like, I'm trying to think, Bruno? I don't know. It just says an old man, so maybe they're introducing a new character, a new side character in this episode. Or maybe Mr. Hong? I'm trying to think. Who's it? Hector? I'm like, wait, is it Hector? Like, imagine that's the plot twist. Like, we don't know who this old man is, right? And then the plot twist, it's Hector the whole time. That would be a good twist. But then if it actually does happen and I called it, I called it. Because, like, I love the plot twist in, The Fool's Gold with the whole thing with Hector, but if this is like Carl doesn't know who the old man is, it turns out to be Hector, that would be a great twist. I love that. I saw it coming. But I think it's just gonna be a new character they introduce. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm excited for it. Again, like, I wasn't really a big fan of the first Carl Focus episode of season 2, a kid plays in the picture, and that was kind of boring. So maybe this episode with him, because I don't think Roddy is going to be in this episode, but him having another Focus episode on him, like, on his own, not with Adelaide or anybody else, you know, unless they show up for a bit. I guess I'll be excited for it, but, you know, I'm just a little worn out on Carl taking over the show, but yeah. Alright, so then the next episode we're talking about is Saving Face. Roddy and Sid are determined to find out if the new building tenant is their favorite wrestler, La Tormenta. So I was right about this episode, because the UK released a promo for the Casagrandes new episodes airing, and they had one scene where Roddy was holding a mask, and that mask is the exact same mask that she wore in No Show with La Tormenta. So yes, this is about La Tormenta. And again, this is going to be another fun Sinati adventure, as we always get in the show. So again, it's nice to see another one of these, just Sid and Ronnie and having a little adventure again, and trying to figure out if the person in their apartment is La Tormenta. I mean, it's really cool that they're actually bringing her back, or actually introducing her into the show, because the last time we saw La Tormenta was in No Show. Although I think, oh my gosh, I think it was in was it an I Breakfast Spot or one of the episodes? They were watching reruns of La Tormenta, or they were actually watching her on TV, which I think it was I Breakfast Spot. They were watching La Tormenta, and I thought, wait a minute, I thought La Tormenta was retired, so why are they watching her on TV, unless, again, they're watching reruns, because, again, in No Show, she was retiring doing her last show ever. So I guess in this episode, they will find out it's her, and she's retired, and she's moving into the apartment building. But again, if it isn't her, that'd be kind of interesting. But if it is her, then maybe she should become a reoccurring character on the show, which would be kind of cool. But I am very excited about this episode, because if it's just like Dynamic Do-Over, where Carl was fanboying over seeing El Falcone, I'm so excited to see fangirl Roddy Ann. Like, I know we kind of saw Sid and Roddy Ann fangirling in the meal ticket episode with 12 is Midnight, but seeing that this is her favorite wrestler that she's idolized for years and been following forever, to see her just go all fangirl and be like, oh my gosh, you're La Tormenta, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you. I'm gonna be so happy to see Roddy and fangirling out to see La Tormenta if it actually is her. Like, that'd be so cute just to see her, like, fangirl and fade and, like, fan herself, like, oh my gosh, La Tormenta, ah! Like, oh my gosh, yes, please. Like, I'm, like, thinking about episodes with potential sounds exciting, but, when they happen, it's not really what I want. But I'm very excited to see this episode, because, of course, it is a Sidani episode. We always love them Sidani episodes, where they're cute and adorable and having fun adventures, and that's really all that matters in Sidani episodes, so I'm very excited for this one. Now, the next episode is going to be very interesting with this episode premise, which is Chancla Force. Carl takes Rosa's chancla, setting off the balance of the order in the city and causing the Chancla Force in action. So, this episode... what the heck is this episode? Okay, like, I've never been this baffled by an episode premise since Bad Cluck in the Casagrandes. This is the weirdest premise I've heard for an episode. Like, when I was thinking about this episode when I was talking about my friends, this feels like, to me, what Cursed would have been, or kind of is. Like, the idea of the city getting cursed in the Casagrandes, like, in Cursed, except Ernesto's curse wasn't real. Whereas here, the curse is actually real. Like, that's what I'm thinking about. It's like, everything is set, this whole balance is set off. And the idea that Carl taking Rosa's chancla means everything is messed up. That's so weird because, like, listen, Casagrandes, I don't want to pull a loophole on you, my friends, but in the episode Taco the Town, Hector becomes Rosa, right? And he has her chancla and throws it at Carl and barely misses. How come when Hector had her chancla, nothing happened? Well, I mean, I guess something did happen where, like, Hector became Rosa. Maybe that sets off the balance of the city, but it only affected them. Well, again, I guess it maybe affected the apartment because they wanted to turn into Rosa's, tacos. So I guess that makes sense. But why, when he took it, nothing happened? But I'm thinking like, okay, so if Carl takes Rosa's chancla and everything gets messed up, does that mean that when anybody else takes it, everything changes? So, like, okay, here's the thing. Like, in the promo for the UK, which I'll link in the description, there's a scene where Carlos and Frida, like, Frida is listening to music, and Carlos is about to skateboard, which, by the way, they actually remember that Carlos is a skater in the show. Finally, after 2 seasons of, like, the first season forgetting that ever existed. And by the way, in Case of Stolen Drawers, and Aliyah Oxen Free, when Lincoln's learning to skateboard for Roddy as a surprise, which I'll talk about later, Carlos shows up because they tell Lincoln that he's the expert, because Carlos X, and they remember that. And then finally in the show, he's skateboarding again in the show as Carlos X, so they finally remembered it. Thank you, Casagrandes. You're always consistent with your continuity, even though sometimes you're not. But again, like, you always get on the spot, even if you're sometimes you mess up. Anyway, but seeing that Carlos was like, he's about to skateboard, he's like, I'm gonna skateboard in the house with no pants on. I'm like, what? But then after seeing this premise, I think that's what this episode is from, is that Carlos is like skateboarding around the house and Frida's listening to music. And so I'm thinking that maybe when Carl takes the chancla, everybody's personalities changes, or like people, like the characters act differently. So I'm wondering if, like, again, if Ronnie shows up in this episode, how will her personality change? Like, I'm very curious about that. Because, like, seeing that Frida's listening to music and Carlos is skateboarding, I'm wondering if maybe Bobby gets Frida's, like, love of art and starts, like, emotionally crying so much. Like, even though he does that already, but, like, seeing him become, like, an artist and stuff. And then Ronnie is, like, a bookworm like Carlos, and she has, like, a little bun and glasses and just reading a book for the whole episode. Like, that's what I think I'm most excited about. It's just, I know that it's only going to be 11 minutes and you have to cram so much in 11 minutes, but this basically is like their version of Butterfly Effect, except Butterfly Effect was a dream, and I hope this episode is not a dream. I mean, it could be a dream, but, like, here's the thing though, Casagrandes have, they have referenced and have brought in magical elements into the show. Like, again, Ernesto, even though technically he's not really magical, but he could be in terms of, like, being, seeing the future and stuff, you know what I mean? And then, like, Bad Cluck, there's a haunted chicken. I mean, that's real. It's a haunted chicken. It's real. They have magical elements in the Casagrandes, and Rosa believes in the supernatural, of course. So she knows about the supernatural. So the fact that her chancla is kind of supernatural, like that it's kind of magical. The reason that she keeps around, even though that's weird, because like she has it as a weapon, and so like why would she want to use it as a weapon, knowing that this chancla could change everything if it falls into the wrong hands? That is kind of strange. So I'm wondering if this will be a dream, but I think maybe in the end, the chancla force, as they're calling it in the episode, is just going to be Rosa. Like, she shows up and Carl's like, wait, you're the chancla force? And she's like, yes, I am. Like, where's the chancla? And, like, that's when he gets in trouble. But no, I'm just more interested in the idea of hoping that because it said it throws off the balance of the city. So I'm very curious to see, like, if they're actually going to, if everybody's going to change personalities and not just Carl. Like, because I know I saw in the trailer, they had a bunch of the birds, like, playing, like DJing and stuff, and they were all, like, dead birds and stuff. Like, it makes sense in the trailer. Like, I'm trying to, like, explain it, but it doesn't seem like it's, like, right when I think about it. But I'm just really curious to see if this will be, like, their version of Butterfly Effect, where everything is, like, different. And I just want to see if Roddy and Bobby and Maria and, like, everybody else's personalities change. I want to see if Arturo decides to go back to Peru. Oh, that's so mean. I'm so sorry. I was just thinking about, like, maybe, like, Roddy and Bobby and Maria decided they want to move back to Royal Woods. Oh my god. Like, they're like Bobby's like, I miss Lori so much. We're gonna go back to Royal Woods. And Roddy is like, yeah, and I miss Lincoln. I want to see him again. We're moving back to Royal Woods. Bye. That's how I would write the episode. Oh my gosh, I'm crying just thinking about the idea of that. That's not gonna happen, but I just thought it was a funny idea. Or, like, maybe Sid, like, she stops being a K-pop stan and becomes, like, a stan of, like, blues music or whatever. Like, just thinking about the ideas of, like, changing the characters' personalities or what's gonna happen with the characters in this episode sounds so promising. But I feel like in the end, it's just gonna be Carl and his family. We won't see the Santiagos, and I'll be upset at the promise of what could be in this episode. But I just hope that it's a really fun episode. I just the premise of it sounds, like, exciting. It sounds so promising, but I think I'll just have really high expectations and be disappointed in the end. But we'll see. I have a low expectation. I'm not expecting that to happen. I just think it'd be funny if that ever happened. And finally, the last episode of Casagrandes that's airing in the UK is called Fluff Love. Carlitos goes on a wild adventure to get his favorite stuffed animal from the arcade. Finally, a Carlitos episode of the Casagrandes! A focused Carlitos episode! See, this is what you need, guys. You can't keep giving Carl all the episodes, guys. Carlitos needs a focus episode. Here we go. That's new. That's exciting. Because, again, the last time Carlitos had an episode was Copycat in Season 1. And that wasn't even his episode. It was about Roddy Edge desperately trying to make Carlitos to like her. So it was nice to see that Carlitos is getting his own focus episode. And again, it's probably going to be like Any Given Sunday from Loud House Season 4 with Lily, where, her focus episode, you can tell she's super smart. But I do like this idea of Carlitos getting his own episode. And of course, Carlitos doesn't really talk. So I think it'll be kind of like a silent mute, like, episode, kind of like a Loud Pets episode in the Loud House. But I'm very curious to see how they'll go about this episode, if it really is going to be kind of like the Lily episode or a Pets episode in the Loud House, because again, Carlitos doesn't really talk. But again, it's something new and something fresh. I like that. I like to see that characters that don't get their focus episodes are finally getting them. So Carlitos getting a focus episode, Carlitos the baby deserves it. So I'm very interested in that episode. I think it's going to be a fun episode just to see how Carlitos will be as a focus in an episode. So that's all the episode news for the Loud House and the Casagrandes. So the Loud House is airing episodes every week this month at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss it. And then again, the Casagrandes, they're airing their episodes in the UK early. So again, they'll be leaked out, of course, and I won't talk about them here on the show until they air in the US. But, you know, if you want to avoid spoilers for those episodes, avoid them as much as possible, because again, they're airing next week. 4 new episodes of the Casagrandes airing early. So again, you know, if you want to see them, don't miss them, because they'll probably be out on like a mega link or something. But I don't really want to, you know, advertise leaked episodes. But, you know, if you see them, you know, you see them. I usually see them myself, but I won't talk about them until they air in the US. So, but again, don't miss a new episode of the Loud House airing in the US every week this month at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So let's jump over to comic news then, shall we? So comic news, we had a comic come out recently, which was the first Casagrandes comic. Casagrandes were all Familia. So yes, this comic is basically a reprint comic. It has all reprinted stories from different issues with the Casagrandes featured. However, there are 3 new stories in this Casagrande comic. There are 3 new stories. It's Skate Force Go, Rockabye Carlitos, and For a Few Tickets More. But Skate Force Go is basically a Radiant and friends story. I mean, it's Radiant, Sid, Samir, and Laird. That's the only ones that's showing up in that one. Yeah, and it's a really fun one. I think it's kind of, you know, a fun Casagrande story. It always reminds me of why I like the Casagrandes in general, so it's a pretty fun one. And then Rockabye Carlitos is a very interesting one, because it's basically the Casagrandes version of A Darkest Story Night, where everybody's coming up with a different way to tell a story. I really like that one, because like Radiant is reading a bedtime story to Carlitos, very adorable. So I really like that one, because again, like it's their Casagrande version of Darkest Story Night, but a different way, because it's only just Carlitos in the story. But I really like that one. And of course, For a Few Tickets More. So Jeff Whitman, you know, the guy from Paper Cuts, he told me that I would like this story in particular, and I was like, okay, now I'm very interested in why I would like the story in particular, so I had to check it out for myself, and yes, oh my gosh, okay, like, this story... Okay, first of all, this story, so the thing with the comics is that sometimes they're connected and sometimes they're not. Like, there are issues where they're just one connected story in an issue. But this comic is connected to the last issue, the Case of Stolen Drawers, with the Ollie Ollie Oxenfree comic, where Lincoln was already skateboarding to surprise Roddy Ann with some cool skate moves that he was going to Nikki, Casey, Samir, and Carlos to learn skateboarding to surprise Roddy Ann. But then in this comic, it is confirmed that the reason that he was doing that was because their friend-iversary is coming up. So Roddy Ann, in this comic, she wants to win a musclefish toy, but it costs 30,000 tickets, which is crazy. So she gathers up a whole team of people, like her friends, her family, and 3 of Lincoln's pals. She gets Stella, Clyde, and Zach. A weird combination, but okay. And then so she gathers up everybody to help her win 30,000 tickets. And so Samir is like, wait, why are you doing this again? Why do you need to win 30,000 tickets? And Rodney Ann, with her hand behind her back, just looking so awkwardly, is blushing super hard, says, I just want to win this musclefish toy for Lincoln for our dumb friend-iversary. And everybody surrounds her and looks at her, and they all give her this look, and they're all shipping it. And like, oh my gosh, like, when I saw this panel and Rodian is just blushing super red, talking about Lincoln, and everybody's looking at her, even Sid, by the way, Sid is like, she's like, has her hands on her cheeks, and she's smiling. Sid has evolved to Roddy Kid Shipper in the past 2 years now, apparently, because, like, because back in Horoscope, when Rodian was talking about how she thought that Lincoln was in love with her, it's like, I thought you guys were just friends, you know, and then she, like, was saying, like, oh, Rodian just likes you as a friend, you know, like, or just loves you as a friend. Now, all of a sudden, Sid is just fully evolved into Roddy Kid Shipper. Something must have happened between those 2 years, you know? Maybe, you know, again, Rodian's kind of finally warming up to her feelings about Lincoln now, because, again, she was blushing about, oh, we're just getting it for our dumb friend-iversary, that's all. Just gonna gonna gather up all my friends and family and three of Lincoln's friends to win him a toy that costs 30,000 tickets that I could probably win, that I could probably buy the store, just for a good pal, am I right? I'd go through all that trouble just for a good friend. So yeah, like, when we all saw that panel, like, all of us Roddy Kid fans started freaking out, because, like, yes, Roddy Kid is canon, it is the canon ship, I don't care what anybody says, it is the canon ship, y'all know it, we all know it, it's canon, it's a canon ship, and it's canon to comics, because technically, like, again, Lincoln was again, his surprise for Roddy was for their friend-iversary, which, I thought he was just doing it, like, because, he wanted to learn her favorite sport, but again, he's learning her favorite sport for their friend-iversary, which is so sweet. Like, he went through all that trouble to learn skateboarding in his room and, like, severely damage himself to surprise Roddy and then Roddy like, spending 30,000 tickets just for a toy for their friend-iversary. And again, the way they tied the whole comic together with connecting the two is at the end, where Samir says to the friends, he's like, oh, I can't wait till she sees what Lincoln did for her, and then Carlos winks at them, confirming that, yes, this takes place after Lincoln was asking Nikki Case Samir for for advice on the skateboarding. So technically, I guess it means, like, when in the Ali Oxenfree comic, Roddy and when they said they were going to go hang out with her, that means they went to the arcade, so that's how you tie it together. But that is really cool that they actually tied both stories together into one cohesive narrative between Lincoln and Roddy, and implying that they were doing this for their friend-iversary, which is so sweet. Like, I hope maybe we get an actual follow-up where they do surprise each other with their friend-iversary gifts, but if they're not going to do that, then I'll just do it myself. But I'm really, really happy. Like, I saw that, I was so, like, I was shaking, I was so happy, I felt like I was like Cloud 9, knowing that implying that my ship is canon, but, I mean, yes and no, I mean, there's hints there, but, I still think Roddy Kid is canon, and always will be, but, well, I mean, we are getting that Love Out Loud comic, which I talked about with the Loud Casa Talks people, which is, going to have a certain comic where Lincoln is going to have to invite a girl to the dance. And again, on that cover, we have Lori and Bobby and Lincoln and Ronnie on the cover, respectively. And Lori and Bobby's story is about them having a phone date, not a, like, dinner date. So, I'm just saying, like, if there's one girl Lincoln has to invite to that dance, it could be a certain purple hoodie wearing black-haired Latina girl, I'm just saying. Yeah, like, that comic's coming out in December, by the way, so we have a long way to go before we see that one, but I think that's gonna be, like, the exciting, like, conclusion to the arc, but we don't know yet. We don't know about that. Well, we know some stuff, like, they talked about how there's gonna be a Sam and Luna comic in there, there's gonna be one about Sid's family, about Sid's parents, I'm sorry, with Senior Rita, I think Wayne and Betty are gonna be in there, maybe, I don't know, I don't think so. I'm trying to read the description. There's one about Clyde's dads, which are really cute. Yeah, I was gonna see what else is here. Yeah, Bobby and Lori will go. What lengths will they go to have a video call in peace? Oh, okay. So yeah, so see, there's that. So again, Ronnie's on the cover, and she's not mentioned in this one, but it says Lincoln has to pick a date for the dance, which again, I think is going to be a sequel to Dance Dance Resolution, where again, Roddy is going to play an important role in that comic. We don't know yet, but Love Out Loud is going to be like the shipping comic. It's gonna be like it's gonna be fan service to comic. Like, it's like this, the comics are already fan service enough. Like, again, that panel of Roddy and blushing over Lincoln, legit fan service. I live for it. But and again, all of them like shipping it. Like, oh my god, just the fact that like they're all shipping it, and Sid is like her hands on her cheeks. Like, oh my god, she's finally involved in the Roddy can ship her. I'm so happy. But but we have a long way to go before that comic comes out. But hold on, I'm trying to find it. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to say real quick about the Casagrande comic before we move on to the next one that was announced, is that the character bios, now the characters have certain bios that they write about, they give them different little bios and things, and majority of the time, the bios are not changed. I don't really think any of them get changed, or if they are changed, they're mostly updated to like whatever the status of the characters are, right? So majority of the bios they give the characters, except for new ones like Laird, he got a bio because he's a new character, are mostly untouched, except for one. One character's bio has changed, and that's Lincoln's. So Lincoln actually has a different bio for the Casagrande comic. So Ronnie Yann's bio isn't changed for the Loud House one, but Lincoln's is changed for the Casagrandes one. So the first thing they changed about Lincoln's bio is that it says here, Lincoln is Ronnie Yann's dearest friend from Royal Woods. They still keep in touch and visit one another as often as they can. And then they talk about the same thing they've had where Lincoln says he's arrived with 10 scissors, blah, blah, blah. So the fact that they added in here about how Lincoln is one of Ronnie Yann's dearest friends, like, they know what they're doing. Because again, none of the other bios are changed. Not a single bio is changed. I checked to make sure that none of the bios were changed at all whatsoever. But Lincoln got a little excerpt right there about being one of Ronnie Yann's dearest friends. I mean, come on, they're just hook, line, and sinker on the shipping bait. I'm just saying, they know what's up. They know what we want. It's excellent. So again, thank you Paper Cuts for doing that. Like, you didn't have to add that little excerpt about Lincoln being Ronnie Yann's dearest friend from Royal Woods, because again, Sid is Ronnie Yann's best friend, and it still says that regardless of the changes of anything, because again, there's no changes, but they added that because they know what's up, and yeah, that's just. That I love that. So, I'm very happy about that. Because again, like, Bobby doesn't have any excerpt about being Lori's boyfriend, which is very strange. I mean, I think she has one about being Bobby's girlfriend, but I don't remember. Bobby doesn't have that. At least I checked. He doesn't have it about being Lori's boyfriend. So, you know what I mean. But we all know that. But, like, I love that. I love that little touch. It's something that they didn't need to do, but they did. But yeah, that's very, very exciting. But then, a while back, they announced the next comic that's coming out next year. Oh my god, there's more comics coming. Next year's comic is going to be called The Loud House, The Missing Link. And there's only a cover for it. We don't know what the story's about yet. The only thing we know about it is that apparently Lincoln goes missing and everybody's trying to find him. So, but I think that's only just going to be for one story. Unless, again, it's a one narrative comic, but as of right now, we know nothing about it. It's that it's coming out next year. And also, next year, they're going to be having the second Casagrande comic come out next year, which is also very exciting that the Casagrandes get their second issue as well. So, I mean, that's probably just going to be another reprint again, but I'm very happy that the Casagrandes are also getting their own comics besides the Loud House. They'll still be featured with the Loud House in the regular Loud House comics, of course, like, again, in the Summer one, and the Lucy Rolls the Dice one, in the Guessing Game one with the OT4 comic and cover, and of course, the Love Out Loud one, which is, of course, the shipping one. So, but it's a very exciting time that we're getting so many comics this year. Because, again, we have the Summer one, which is, I think, August is the Summer one. That's the next one, I believe, is the Summer one. And then in September, I think, is the Lucy Rolls the Dice one. The OT4 one, Guessing Games, is November. And then Love Out Loud is December. So, yeah, we have a lot of comics to look forward to. We have a lot of content to look forward to. Because, again, we'll talk about the movie, which is the next thing we'll be talking about. So I don't want to keep hold on the comics right now. So let's jump over to the movie. So yes, on April 27th, we finally got more information about the Loud House movie from Netflix, including a teaser, trailer, announcement trailer. I don't know what they call it, the announcement trailer? Yes. So we finally got the announcement trailer for the Loud House movie. So they actually released a teaser image first from the Loud House movie with, like, the new character that's going to be voiced by David Tennant, and with the Loud family together. It's a weird frame. I assume it's during a musical number, so that's why it kind of looks weird. But again, when I saw it, I was like, I'm very interested. Like, it looks kind of cool, but like the way they posted this frame, the character's eyes look kind of weird because of course they're probably moving in frame, so that's why it kind of looks kind of weird with the eyes. So yeah, I was very excited we just at least got a teaser image. So that day on April 27th, I was actually on campus taking pictures for graduation, and I was very busy at the time, so a lot of stuff came out while I was out of my radar while I was doing that. So I was taking a break after doing pictures. and I open up my phone and I see that everybody's like DMing me and tagging me and being like, Sunny, where are you? The trailer, why aren't you talking about it? Like, wait, what? Excuse me? Trailer? Like, what? The announcement trailer is out for the last week. Like, what? Like, that just, like, came out of nowhere. I had no idea that it happened. Everybody was, like, DMing me and tagging me and asking me, like, where are you? Why aren't you reacting to this? And I'm like, guys, I'm out. I had no idea this was happening. So, yeah, I finally sat down to watch the announcement trailer, and I was legit just hyperventilating because, oh my god, this is a real thing that actually happened, and I had to, spam about it and, like, post images about it, and yeah, I just lost my mind when I saw this, because finally we see something from the Loud House movie after hyping it up for so long and not knowing anything about it, and now that's coming out this year, which it's coming out this summer. We don't have an official date for it yet, but it's this summer, so I'm thinking it's gonna be August. They say summer, I think it's going to be August, but at least we have, like, some look of the movie, which I'm looking at the trailer right now, just so I can refresh my memory of the trailer. And so, the trailer indicates that the one thing we can guess from it is that Lincoln is being crowned King of Scotland. Lincoln Loud, this 11, 12-year-old, I'm not sure what age he's going to be, because again, the last movie is like its own entity. It doesn't really take place in the show itself. It's not canon. I don't think it's canon, because it's not canon because Lily's still in her diaper, because this movie was in development hell for a long time. So I think the movie just takes place in its own universe, or even then it takes place before season 5 for sure, but I don't think it's going to have a canon timeline, because if it does, and it canons the movie, then why isn't anybody mentioning that Lincoln was crowned King of Scotland? But yeah, no, Lincoln is crowned King of Scotland, which is strange, because again, this guy, who is voiced by David Tennant, he kind of looks like Lynn Sr., so I think he's supposed to be Lynn Sr.'s ancestor, and the fact that Lynn Sr. would not be crowned king, which is kind of strange because, again, he's alive, and that Lincoln is the one that becomes king is very interesting to me. Unless they're gonna, like, imply some kind of rule where it's like, oh, the son of said person whose royalty is the one that becomes king. You don't become king. Lincoln is the son. He's the only male in the family, so that means he's the one that gets to be crowned king. So that's why he becomes king. And it's really cool, because again, that's my boy. My boy is becoming the king of all of Scotland. I mean, does that make, like, the girls all princesses? Or are they all queens or something? Like, I don't know what that makes the girls specifically, because they're all royalty, but Lincoln's the only one that actually is king. So what does that make the girls? Like, princesses then? I mean, Lola would love that, but we don't know, like, what their royalty status is. Lincoln, he's the one that's wearing the crown, and he looks all, he's wearing his royal outfit and stuff, and just, like, embracing the royal lifestyle, whereas as the girls, they don't have any of those outfits. They don't have crowns, they don't have other outfits, they're just wearing their normal outfits, so I guess they're just princesses, but they don't get any of that. Lincoln gets that because he's king, or prince, or I don't know what it is. Like, is he a prince, or is he a king? I assume, like, we're all calling him King Lincoln. I think that's what we're dubbing him, even if he's assumed to be prince, but I think he's a king, just from his crown. Like, I think if he was a prince, I think his crown would be smaller, so I don't know. It's like, I guess I'm asking more questions than we have answers right now. But yeah, with the trailer, like, it basically is like an announcement teaser trailer, and they basically did a remake of the Loud House theme song with Loud Castle, and the lyrics basically say, like, oh, we have all the room we'll ever need, it feels good to finally breathe. So I think the plot of the Loud House movie is basically going to be where, again, Lincoln is crowned King of Scotland, and they have this huge castle that they live in, and they have all this space, of course, because they're royalty, that's huge. It's a huge castle, and they have all this space now, compared to, like, just a house where there's not enough room, and all the, rooms are small, and people have to, and the siblings have to share stuff. But now, because they live in this huge castle, and there's so many rooms and stuff, there's so much space now that they want to stay there. But I think maybe in the end they'll realize that, oh, like, we actually miss living in Royal Woods. Like, the royal lifestyle is great and all, but it's just too perfect. Like, we don't deserve this. Like, we want to live back in our normal lives in Royal Woods. But it is really cool that, like, they actually get to live in this huge castle, and they're, like, living it up, and they're enjoying this lifestyle, because, again, like, they have space now. They don't have to live in this cramped house anymore. No more one bathroom. They have, like, 12 bathrooms now. Like, that's amazing. Like, I know Lori probably feels that way right now that she's in college, that there's more bathrooms than one, but the fact that she's, like, starting to enjoy the lifestyle of going into the castle than actually going to college, it's like, we have 12 bathrooms. We don't have to share a bathroom and, like, 20 bedrooms. Oh my gosh. Like, we don't have to be roommates anymore. That's amazing. But then they start to realize that, like, because they have all this space and they start, like, drifting apart or doing their own things, they start to miss each other as a family, because it's like, oh, like, you want to go play video games? Oh, no, I just want to go play my own video games. And it's like, oh, like, I kind of miss when we all did stuff together as a family and stuff like that. But that's what I'm thinking. Like, we have no idea what's going to happen in the movie yet. We just kind of have a general idea of it. I'm just more like, I'm just so excited that my boy is crowned King, Prince. I still think it's King. My boy's crowned King of Scotland. I guess that's why everybody was DMing me about it, because they're like, why aren't you freaking out about this? Oh my gosh, oh my god. And I was like, guys, I legit had no idea this was happening. So, like, when I did see it, I was, like, spamming everywhere. I had tears in my eyes. I was, like, so happy. Oh my gosh. It's like, the minute that Lincoln just goes, like, he says, like, this Loud is ready to rule, I'm like, what? And so I see him getting crowned king, and I'm like, oh my god, like, this is amazing. Like, this is just catering to me. Like, the movie looks like it's gonna be super fun, and of course the animation is, it looks exactly like the show, and I'm glad at least they kept the show style. Like, I don't think I really would want it to be any different than the show style, but it seems like the backgrounds are very updated. The backgrounds look super clean, and they look so much more detailed than the show itself. Like, they're using, like, a different, like, cell shading for the backgrounds, which makes it more, like, it makes the characters pop more in the movie than the actual show. Like, the show doesn't really do much detail with the background, so they're kind of making it look like more like a storybook pop-up background, which I think is really neat for the show. And the animation looks much more smoother than the show itself. Like, I think the characters move a lot more smoothly than the show itself, and the expressions are a lot more like, lively than the show. I don't know. It looks very much more, like, updated from the show itself while keeping the show style. I think I like that more than just, like, making it highly detailed, because again, this is a TV movie versus, like, an actual theatrical movie, so, but there has been, like, TV show to movie adaptations that have looked just like the show, like We Bare Bears and regular show. They didn't change anything about their art style, so I hate that people are complaining, like, oh, why does this look like the actual show, like, versus the TV show? It's like, because not all TV movies look as that, like, update their animation all the time with the budget. They just get a budget and they're like, okay, like, we can update a little bit, but we can't do too much. But I think I like it. And again, the background looks super detailed, and the character animation looks a lot more smoother. So whenever we get more stuff about the movie, I'm very, very excited about it, and I can't wait to do more updates on the Loud House movie. So yeah, that's gonna do for all the news on the Loud House and the Casagrandes coming out this week. So if you have any questions about the podcast or want to discuss the podcast with me, you can contact me over at Clips on Twitter, or the podcast's Twitter, CasaLoud Chats. And we'll probably see you next time when the next episode I release is going to be one of the season retrospectives on the Loud House. I'm going to do the first season with Saran of the CasaLoud Cybercast, so I'm very excited about that. But when it comes to reviewing the new episodes, I haven't decided what I'm going to do about that yet, because again, we're getting new episodes back to back to back, so I'm probably going to figure that out later. But yes, thank you all for listening, and I will see you all next time on CasaLoud Chats.